everybody, welcome back to Rocky Mountain Homestead. My name is Angela. If you are new here, welcome. I'm about to water glass some eggs in a new crock, and I figured I'm going to take you guys along and show you the process of water glassing, as long as kind of explain the reasoning why I choose to preserve our eggs using this method, and I have done this every year. If you are new to raising chickens, I just wanted to share with you some tips, some information that you may not know that I did not know right away when I first got chickens. So I've had chickens for a good few years now, and we absolutely love them. It's great to just go grab eggs from your backyard. I love it. I absolutely love fresh eggs. In the fall, your chickens will go through a molt, and usually after that molt, they will take a break. They will stop laying eggs. The daylight is getting shorter during that time. The days are getting shorter, and chickens need consistently 12 to 16 hours of sunlight each day in order to produce an egg. So I didn't know that at first, and of course I've learned it throughout time, and that has happened every single winter. They take a break. Now, that break can last from anywhere to 40 to 90 days. For me personally, it is the middle of November they stop, and then in the middle of February, sometimes the beginning of February, they'll pick back up again and lay eggs. I choose to give my chickens a break because I figured if that's the way God created them and they need that break, then so be it. They're going to have that break. And I water glass my eggs when the eggs are in abundance in the spring and summer. And that's what I do. And I set my eggs aside, and I'll show you the solution that I use. And that usually gets us through all the extra eggs that I water glass throughout the spring and summer, get us through November, December, January, and February. Sometimes even into March, we'll stretch it till they're laying again. So if you choose not to give your chickens a break, what you are going to want to do is use supplemental lighting. And to do that, you could put a strand of Christmas lights around your chicken coop. You can put a light inside your coop that's on a timer. It's basically, a supplemental lighting to keep them laying. So when the days start getting shorter, you want to start setting your timer, and I'm not going to go too deep into this. You can look it up online on Google if you want to, but it'll tell you the exact process. But you want to do it in the beginning as the days start getting shorter with the amount of daylight. That's when you want to start doing that supplemental lighting. Sorry about that interruption. It's daytime here. This is why my videos are mostly nighttime. Anyway, you'll want to start as the daylight starts decreasing. You're going to want to kind of increase that supplemental lighting to make up for the daylight that is being decreased. Not going to go much further into that. Like I said, you can look that up, but a lot of people choose to do supplemental lighting. Me personally, like I said, I like to give them a break. So there's different methods that you can use to preserve eggs. People have, used a freeze dryer. Some people put them in the freezer. When you're water glassing, it keeps its consistency. It's no different really than if you were using a regular egg, from your coop. So that is why I like to preserve that. Some people get grossed out by it, and I get it. I mean, I don't get grossed out very easily with the fact that I water glass. Like I said, I've done this for years, and I do it every year, and I'm doing it right now. So if that grosses you out, this video is probably not for you. But if you're interested in it, this is a method a lot of people choose to do, and I love it. It's so simple, and you can have, generally they say you can water glass your eggs and they're good for 6 to 8 months. There's many, many people out there who have stored their eggs for 2 years and they're totally fine. I think the longest I ever stored our eggs and used them was 18 months. And they're totally fine. They were totally fine. But I'm going to take you guys along. I'm going to show you step by step. Now that I'm kind of done explaining this whole situation. Also, if you have ducks, you can also water glass duck eggs, but they're usually really messy. So that's going to be part of the tips. I'm going to take you guys along, and we're going to go over what steps to take to get eggs preserved on your shelf and have them pantry stable. Now I'm going to take you off my tripod and I am just going to show you some examples of what water glass eggs look like. So these are all from currently, except the very top layer were the last eggs that I had water glassed in a jar from last March. So I want to use those first, so I put them on the top. And as you can see, there is a white substance, a white powder that's thickly layered on the bottom. That is because the calcium hydroxide, the lime, has settled. And that is normal. That is completely normal. So that is what it looks like when it settles. As you see here, this is a line left from residue from, or a line, not a lime. This is a line left from residue from the lime solution. So what had happened is the water had gotten low as you pull out eggs and the water levels drop. It can form, a line of residue. That is completely normal. That is totally fine. Of course, it's going to build up, and that's what happened. So what is this solution exactly, you might be asking? Now, a lot of people leave in the comments, you said something. What did you say? It sounded like Azure. A lot of people I've bought from them for years. I mean, since like 2017, 2018. So I just say Azure, and most people who shop Azure understand. But Azure Standard, you can go online and look at it. It's a great place. I'm not going to go too far into it, but that's where I get a good majority of staples for our pantry. They sell, and I buy the big bags because, like I said, I do this a lot. So this is a 5-pound bag. They sell smaller bags, and it's cal lime, and it's food grade. So it's very important that you're using the right stuff. So calcium hydroxide, that is what you want to do. So right there, cal lime, and it's got to be food grade. And then over here, I have distilled water. So what you want your ratio to be as you fill your jar up, you're not going to, I personally don't pour in a ton of water all at once. I just do it as I go and as I add eggs. So the ratio, and I'll put this down in the description below, is going to be 1 ounce. So having a kitchen scale is super handy. 1 ounce of cal lime to 1 quart of distilled water. So 1 ounce to 4 cups of distilled water. And I will show you guys this step as I mix it up myself, but that is what you will do to measure your solution. Now I left this out of the water so it looks really chalky and dried up, but this is a perfect example of what you don't want to come across in your water glassed canister or whatever of eggs. So if I were to dip this in water and get it wet, which I'm going to just for the purpose of this because it did evaporate, and I'll go over that too, what you don't want to do. So if you are water glassing eggs and you find in the bottom or in the top an egg that looks like this, you want to dispose of it immediately. And what that is an egg that cracked, probably under the weight of the other eggs. Maybe it did not have a very sturdy shell. Whatever the case, it does happen occasionally, but you see that buildup. That is all the lime, and that is what it looks like close up. So that is a cracked water glass egg. You would dispose of this. Now, normally the signs that you would see is maybe some discolored water, like some water with a very, very cloudy yellowish tinge. I should have saved the water in my other jar, but we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, that is what it's going to look like. So if you see this in the side of your jar, you want to remove this, okay? And you will notice when one is broke, because when you lift this, there will be an odor, a distinct odor you will smell from a broken egg. And it's just a very off smell. It's not super, super strong. I mean, unless you sit and let it sit for a long time. I personally don't ever, I'm pretty observant of it, so I catch it, thankfully, pretty early. But I am going to dispose of this egg. But I just wanted to show you that so you know what to look for, and if you see an egg like that, what that is. So at all times, you always want your eggs to be completely covered and submerged in this solution. So if I were to add a few more eggs to this, as you can see, this one's almost at the surface. You don't want your eggs, and I'm trying to not be in the way, sorry, but you don't want any part of your egg exposed like that. You want it completely submerged in the solution at all times. That's very important. So I'm going to submerge it, and I'll probably make up some more water. Now this one's out. I'll probably make up some more water to give these a little bit more of a covering, but I like to cover mine as I fill the jar and as I go. So that is what I do, and these eggs are, this is about full. You also, just another tip, don't want to pick a jar that's full with eggs up and carry it around like I am doing, because that egg that we just threw away, that's what can happen. It can crack. So if this gets bumped, whatever the case, you can very easily get damaged eggs, and then you will see those signs like the egg I just threw out. So really, I mean, I used to fill it in the pantry, but I move it. That's what I do. But you could fill it wherever the spot is going to be that you're going to keep it in. Does not need refrigeration, like I said. It can just go in your pantry and sit and be perfectly fine to use. Now, one of the downfalls of water glassing is you get this lovely buildup over time. So this, I just finished the eggs that were water glassed in it. And as you can see all the different water levels that have accumulated in here with the residue on the side. This does not come off very easily. So all my jars or crocks are completely designated to water glassing only. You can use, I know I have tried like baking soda and vinegar. That actually has worked some. You can scrub and scrub and scrub away. I hate this. It feels like nails on a chalkboard. I won't even do it. Anyway, you can really scrub this, but basically it's going to be used for the same thing. So I scrub it as best I can with soap and water, and that's what I do, and whatever. So for this video, I would have liked to have a new jar, but I didn't have time to go to the store, so I'm just using what I have here. So usually you would have your new jar. Pretend this is nice and clean and new. And what you are going to want to do, say you're about to put eggs, which I'm going to start a new one. You're going to want to start storing your eggs. So what you need to do, what you want to do is get your eggs from the day. And these are the eggs I got. Now, our nesting boxes were completely clean. However, we had 6 inches of snow yesterday, even though the majority of it's melted now, which means mud. So this will be a perfect example of what eggs you want to water glass and what eggs you don't want to water glass. I'm going to turn my kitchen light on just because it's getting a little shadowed and dark here. So you want to pick through your eggs, and they have to be the day they were laid. So you need to use fresh eggs from that day if you are going to water glass. So this one is not very clean at all. As you can see, there's some mud, maybe poop, I don't know. But this is not a good candidate for water glassing. So you will move on and you will look through your other ones. Now this one is good. This egg is clean. And so on and so forth. You're just going to examine your eggs. And also while you're examining them for cleanliness, you are going to want to check and be sure that your eggs are sturdy, that there's no soft shell. You know, sometimes you can get those soft shell eggs, that there's no hairline cracks. You definitely don't want a little hairline crack because you saw that other egg that would just turn into that. So just pick through and sort out what eggs you want to use and what eggs you don't want to use. So any eggs that are soiled, do not use. So out of our 17 eggs from today, these were fine. These 5 were just not to my standards. I'm very picky about water glassing, so I like to make sure they are clean, and these just are not clean enough to water glass. Now, if you're new to water glassing, you might say, well, why can't you take that dirty egg and wash it first? Oops, I have a glare. I'm sorry. You might be asking, why can't you just wash the egg? So every egg that is laid straight from a chicken has a protective layer on it called the bloom. Okay, that is exactly why you can take eggs and you can keep them on your kitchen counter. You can keep them on your kitchen counter at room temperature for like 2 weeks. I mean, you know, do your float test and check, but I mean, usually they don't last for 2 weeks on our counter, but these were from days ago, and I still have a glare. Sorry about that. Anyway, so these were from days ago, and these have been out on my kitchen counter. Turkey eggs, everything. These are out on the counter, and they have not been washed, which means that protective coating, that bloom, is still intact on the shell. So once you wash an egg, you need to refrigerate it. You need to put it in the refrigerator, because at that point it has lost its protective layer called the bloom. You can look that up if you want more information on that. So that is why some people have eggs just sitting out on their counter. So that is why you cannot wash soiled eggs to water glass. Yes, it goes into a lime solution, but that bloom is intact. I have my dish ready for the lime, and I am going to get this zeroed out. What I will do now is measure this out until, ooh, it is really dusty too, by the way. So I'm going to measure out 1 ounce of my lime powder. Okay, I guess I need to be a bit more generous. There we go. So now I have my 1 ounce of lime. So that is measured out. And now you want to fill up your measuring cup with 4 cups, 1 quart of distilled water. Now this distilled water just stays on my shelf in one of my overflow rooms, and I always keep stuff like that on hand for homemade cleaners and water glassing. So once you have your 4 cups, you can add it in any order. This is really not that easy to incorporate though. So I like to grab a little whisk and get it incorporated. And it will be a little dusty, so try not to. It's probably not the best thing to breathe in, so just try and be mindful of how quickly you are stirring this. But as you can see, it takes a little bit of effort to get it submerged and mixed into the water. Hey, Josh. One of my kids have found me. Where are you going? Finding your skid steer? Okay. Boys are playing outside. I don't know what they're doing. And as you can see, it sticks. Once again, this is exactly why there's residue. It wants to stick. But basically, just get that mixed up and incorporated very well. As you can see, there's still powder sitting on the surface. So I'm just going to keep mixing for a minute. Once again, this jar normally would be clean, but this is what this one's used for and dedicated for, so I don't really care because it's going to make a mess all over again. I did wash it with soap and water. So as you can see, it looks super milky right now, right? And you're probably like, well, why does it look clear in the other one? And once again, like I said, that will eventually settle over time, and that is totally fine. The eggs are still safe, and as you can see down here, that is already settling, so that's totally fine. So I went ahead and just mixed up another ratio over here because I know I'll need more to cover the eggs, but as you can see, just in the amount of time I mixed up another one, it's already settled. So I am going to go ahead and pour this in. Make sure all of that comes out. And now that that is poured in, I am going to start submerging my eggs. So over here I have my first egg that is going to go into the water glass solution. And okay, so this is where you do want to kind of aim and have it point side down. That isn't critical, but you do want to try and keep them point sided down. Like I said, it's not critical. Mine are sideways, mine are all over the place in my other jar, and it's still totally fine. It will fall over, as you can see, so as you get more eggs in, it's easier to kind of stack it on the point. Kind of pointed downwards. That's what you want to aim for, but it's not the end of the world if they go sideways, because they will. That is what it is going to look like, and of course, as you add more, the water does rise and go up, so thankfully, I don't think I need to make more solution to cover these. I might be wrong. As you can see, that one's kind of peeking out. So I am just actually going to kind of tilt that one on its side. You have it. That is how you water glass eggs. Those are some tips on water glassing eggs, some do's and don'ts of water glassing eggs. Rule number 1, only use eggs that were laid that day. Number 2, make sure they're not soiled or muddy or dirty. Try and get the cleanest, freshest eggs you can, which is all the more reason to keep up on your nest box maintenance. Number 3, make sure they are always fully submerged in the water. Now, also real quick, if you have a cracked egg and you don't notice it for a while and your water is really nasty, if you need to change water, do not, I'm just going to say this real quick, I'm not trying to make this video very long, but do not take all the eggs out of that jar that are not cracked and place them on the counter while you're remaking a fresh solution in a fresh jar. They will evaporate and get really chalky right away, and once they are evaporated, they're not good to put back in the water glass solution. You're going to have to wash those off and put them in the fridge and store them. So very important. If you get a cracked egg and the water is just really rank, it's just nasty, redo your solution in another jar and then take the eggs from that solution, drip them off a little bit and put them in the new water. Always make sure they're submerged and that the water does not evaporate off of them. And then another thing I didn't touch on, when you pull your water glass egg, this is one from today, but when you pull your water glass egg out of the solution and you're ready to go ahead and use it, my cat just fell off its scratch post. Oops. I think one of the kids loosened the cardboard thing support on it. Anyway, thankfully it landed on its feet. So when you pull it out of your water glass solution, you're going to want to, I don't use soap and water. You want to get that lime solution off before you crack it and use it to eat. You don't want the lime in your egg. So I just run it under warm water really, really well and rub it with my finger. You can rub it with a dish rag and just wipe the surface really well. If you really want to go above and beyond, which is what I do sometimes with my poopy eggs, I will use a little of unscented Castile soap, like Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, and just put a little splash into some warm water in a bowl and, mix it up, suds it up a little bit, and then you can dip it in there, take your cloth and just rub the surface, rub whatever off you need to, and then run it under warm water. So you can do that if you want to be extra, extra clean after pulling it out of your lime solution, but just running it under some warm water with your fingers and just, rubbing it really well is totally fine. That's all you need to do, but definitely rinse it after you pull it out of your water glass eggs. I don't think I've ever heard anybody else say that. So you don't want a nasty taste. You don't want that lime residue in your food. So anyway, I hope you guys give water glass canning. I've been canning all night. I just did my ground beef last night. I hope you give water glassing a try if you have chickens. I think it's a really good idea to do it. You never know if your chickens are going to get sick. Some other reasons besides the amount of daylight that you get in a day, some other reasons that could cause them to stop laying is bad food, not getting enough nutrition, dehydration, really extreme temperatures of hot or cold, stress, mites, feather lice, just all sorts of things. Anything that stresses your chicken could very easily cause her to stop laying eggs for you or just really decrease. So you never know when something like that happens. I like to always have a stock on hand because for the cost of feed and owning chickens, I refuse to this day to ever buy store-bought eggs, and I won't. I will not buy store-bought eggs. So I make sure I always have a supply. You never know when something's going to go wrong. And then you also have them, if you choose to give them a break in the fall or winter, you have eggs to get you through till they're laying again. Last year I stored about 400 eggs, and like I said, it got us through just fine, but we are a family of 10. We have 8 kids, and there's a lot of cooking and baking that goes on. When you homeschool, you're making 3 meals a day from scratch. So but anyway, those are just other things that can cause a chicken to stop laying eggs or really decrease. And so it's really good to just, when you get all those eggs and you have eggs on your counter and eggs in your fridge and eggs in a bowl, you have eggs all over the place, because this isn't even their full swing right now. We have a lot of chickens. We're getting back to like 19 a day, but we'll get a lot more come the warmer months when it's not snowing outside like it did yesterday. So when you have all those eggs and you don't know what to do with them, I always put back. I mean, I have out what we need, and I put back the majority of the extra eggs that we get. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions and I forgot to answer something or I left something out, please feel free to leave it down in the comments below. That way it'll help others who are interested. Once again, if you're grossed out by this and it's just not your thing, I mean, you can still like the video. Help me out here, like the video. I tried being thorough, and I hope I covered everything and tried answering anyone's questions, so you're not in doubt and you can just get some eggs in your pantry. That's, you know, it's kind of, when you're homesteading or you live this lifestyle and you try to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, then, you know, this is a great skill to practice and exercise. If you're a prepper and you have that prepper mentality, you saw my pantry. I'm not just like, you know, trying to build our homestead and homestead life. I do kind of have a prepper mentality, and there are things that I do put back, and we'll get into another video at a later time for that. But I definitely like preparing my pantry, and starting right now in the spring and summer is a great time to put back, so you are covered in the fall and winter without doubt. And yeah, and then you don't have to worry about timers and supplemental lighting and all those things. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys on the next video.